play later. So I'll be saying welcome to everyone. I'll be saying welcome to everyone. I can see Adia. Am I pronouncing it well? Okay. Abdurrahman. Yes. I can see Bashi and who again? I can see Safiyano. I hope I pronounced the names well. Sorry, forgive me if I didn't. All right. So we're just going to be moving forward with that definition. I would like us to understand something about empathy. Now, you cannot really help people, you cannot understand from people's perspective if you don't understand your own emotions. Now, before that, I'm going to help us understand the types of empathy we have. Now, we actually have 3 layers of empathy. This would help us focus on the one that pertains to attracting customers. So, the first aspect we are going to be looking at is an aspect called affective empathy, and this can also be called sympathy. Now, this is just like from the word sympathy, it's just like you feel what someone is feeling, but it doesn't mean that you understand it. I don't know if you get it. And you say you're feeling sympathy for that person, you may not really understand what that person is going through, but then you just feel sorry that this thing has happened to that person. Now that's sympathy. But then when we talk about empathy, and this one talks about cognitive, the first one I said is affective empathy. The second one is cognitive empathy. And this one itself has the larger empathy on it. And what it explains is it helps you understand and it helps you really get to the point of seeing how you can help the person. Remember the definition where you gave, where you said that putting yourself in another person's shoes, seeing from another person's perspective. So that is that aspect we are talking about, and it talks about cognitive empathy. Now, the last one talks about compassion. So please let's follow the progression. I said sympathy, empathy, compassion. Now, what compassion helps you do is that after you've understood that this is what this person needs, right? And you want to see from this person's perspective, especially when it comes to creating content. We've not gotten there. I just need us to understand this. Especially when it comes to creating content. Okay, you can also turn on your caption just in case network flops anytime and you can't hear me. You would be able to read the caption and see whatsoever I'm saying. So you can turn that on from the settings. You would see in-call messages, then you see turn on captions. So please let's do that so that no one misses out of what we are saying. So now compassion puts you in the process of going to act. Now, Dr. Shadrach made a mention of how he brings compassion to his veterinary practice. And he said that aside giving them the drugs, aside selling the drugs to them, he gets to tell them how they should take these drugs. Now, if you look at these 3 processes, these 3 layers I just mentioned now, he went through that 3 process. So you don't just stop at sympathy. If you stop at sympathy, you're not doing anybody any good, in the sense that you just stop at feeling sorry for that particular, I'm using vet practice now as an example. You're just going to stop at feeling sorry that this dog is actually down with, let's say, ticks. Okay, so I'm going to use a general example that we would all be able to relate with. So let's say that you actually sell, okay, Suleiman, you create big business cards, right? Can you Can you answer so I be sure that I'm using a general example?
Yes, yes, that's right. I do
Okay.
create business.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let's say you get to meet someone who just started a business, and the person comes to meet you and say that, okay, I need to create a business card for my business. But then see the mistake we would make if we just stop at sympathy. You just be like, okay, what do you want to, the person gets to a certain point and you ask the person what the person wants and all that, and the person says, okay, sorry, I don't have this particular amount at this point. Now if you allow sympathy get the best of you, you're not going to collect the actual amount you're supposed to collect. I don't know if you're really following. That's the point of not just stopping at sympathy. You go to empathy and you go to compassion. So that's the three layers we
And
should
that's so
understand
true.
as we move. Okay, so having established that, I'm going to go into empathy fully. Now, the word empathy, let's understand that it's actually an aspect of emotional intelligence. And that aspect of emotional intelligence talks about our social skills. You have 5 aspects. We are not going into all of that today. But the 2 aspects that talks about social skills is empathy and relational management or relationship management. But we are focusing on empathy. So emotional intelligence just helps you add intelligence to your emotions. Let's get that. It helps you add intelligence to your emotions. So the word emotional, these 2 words, please let's mark it. Emotional, then intelligence. How does it relate to empathy? Now, the first one is emotional. You ask yourself, do I feel connected to my product? Now, the truth is, you will not be able to really attract customers with your content if you yourself you're not connected to that product. If you don't understand your why, if you don't understand the reason why you started that business, you would not feel any connection. So how do you expect other persons to feel connected when you create content and you want to attract customers? So that's the first question you ask yourself. Now the next question is intelligence. Do I know much about that product or business or idea, whatsoever it is, or services? Do I know much about it? Because when you get to creating content, you will definitely have to use several means, which we're going to talk about, to see how people can understand what you are doing. So if you cannot answer these 2 questions sincerely, it means that whatsoever you're doing is not what you're supposed to be doing. Now, it is true that some persons just go into some kind of businesses blindly. Should I use the word blindly? Or they just go because they feel that, okay, this is thriving at this point. Now, even if you started that way, you still need to understand these things. So remember, I said that emotional intelligence has a lot to do with empathy. So the next question I'm going to be making us answer is why empathy? Why should we even empathize with our customers? I'm trying to establish all of these things because before we go directly to how to create content that attracts customers. Because if you can understand these things, if you can respond to these questions yourself, you'll be able to understand that aspect very well. So, like I said, why empathy? Having understood that empathy plays a role when it comes to emotional intelligence. Now, let me make us understand this. Now, the emotional brain, there is an aspect of the brain called the emotional brain, and it is the limbic region. We are not going into that. But what I want us to get from this is the limbic region directly triggers feelings, behaviors, and decisions. So when you empathize with people, when you use emotions, when it comes to attracting customers, you inspire their buying decisions. I don't know if you get it. When you use emotions, when you use empathy, I'm using the word emotions and empathy so you can see that emotional intelligence and empathy, they go hand in hand. You trigger their buying decision. This is because the same part of the brain that revolves with feelings, it is that same part of the brain that handles decisions and behaviors. So it means that if you just say that, okay, I would go on with using logic or using other means aside empathy, I'm telling you, you will not attract customers. So with that understanding now, sorry, I have a little bit of kata. So with that understanding, I'm going to now go forward to what is content marketing, because all of the aspects where we're going to be talking about how to create content that attract customers, it deals with content marketing. But before content marketing, it is needful to understand content creation, because it is a stepwise thing. It is the aspect of creating content that gets you to the point of marketing. Now, the word content, I like using this definition whenever I'm saying something as relates content. Now, content, when somebody is content with something, the person is satisfied, right? I would really need to be getting our feedbacks. Okay. So the person is satisfied, like you're contented with what you have. That's that's the engine of that word. So content, to be content, is for you to create products that satisfies your target audience. Please, are we really following? Is for you to create products, be it in an audio format. Let's bear in mind that it could either be in an audio format, it could be in a written format, it could be, of course, podcast is also audio format. It could be in a video format, animations or whatsoever. You have those persons they call visual storytellers through graphics designs. Of course, that's what Suleiman does. So, which of these aspects are you using to really attract customers? Now, it will get to a point where you have to combine some aspects. For instance, if you're talking about Instagram, Instagram deals with both visual content, let's call it graphics, and written content. And you can also use InShots. I believe we know about InShots to create amazing videos for Instagram. But then, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to make us understand empathy in content marketing. So let me explain content marketing now when it deals with empathy. So empathy in content marketing allows marketers to step into the shoes of their target audience so they can better understand and respond to their needs, which in turn produces loyal customers. Now, when you're marketing, in as much as at the back of your mind, what you're targeting is to attract customers that will buy from you. But you have to understand that while creating content for marketing your product or whatsoever you do, you must follow the process that would make them understand that, okay, you're really after giving them value than selling. So that is the process I'm going to take you through now. I'm going to take you through 4 processes that you can use to create content that will attract customers. I believe we got that definition. This is because people want to develop trust with a brand, not just to be sold to. People want to see that you're giving them value, and it is for that value you're giving that people pay. People pay for solutions, people pay for needs. And we need to understand that people don't buy products, they buy emotions. People don't buy services. People don't buy whatsoever you sell. They buy emotions, they buy feelings, they buy identities. So all of these things were things that Dr. Shedrack stated yesterday, but then we must ensure that we are using the right approach. Right? So I'm going to take us through how to create content that attracts customers. So the first aspect I'm going to help us understand is an aspect called opening skills. Now, whatsoever content you are creating, just like I said, it could be in varieties, ensure that your opening skill is important. Now, for instance, let's use someone who is in a relationship with another person, like an intimate relationship, and they're looking towards getting married, well, later in the future. But the truth is, the first time that lady gets to meet the guy, or let's use the guy for an example. I think at this point I want, if you can unmute your mic, I think I want to get response from this point, especially from the guys here. I can see some, I think we have more of guys here. So when you go for, or when you go on a date, do you immediately tell the lady your intentions? Let me get responses, please. Do you immediately tell the lady your intentions? Anyone, please unmute your mic and let's hear from you. Is anyone there? Okay, if you cannot talk, you can use the chat section. Let's hear you, please. I need to be sure that we are really following. Okay,
Yes, you
okay,
are with
okay.
us,
All
Praise.
right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh
So
yeah,
my,
for
when
me,
you
I
go,
don't really say it until on the second date or the third date.
okay, the first date, the first date, do you just immediately go and tell the person that, okay, this is my, I want us to have a relationship? Do you immediately do that?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, now let me make it, let me make us understand this. I mean, immediately you get to sit down. The first thing you just tell the ladies, I want us to be in a relationship. Do you do that, or you just create a calm and relaxing atmosphere, create a calm and relaxing atmosphere before you talk about that? I don't know if you get it now.
Uh, I don't really do that. Just like the way you asked, you said, do you really? I I express I express my interest in being a relationship with the lady, but not saying directly to her that I'm interested in the relationship with you. I think what I'm getting at is the way I express it is not really in what, it's just from the things I do by asking her interest, her life aspirations, all that kind of stuff. At least that's how I imagine it on my head. You know, ladies are kind of a bit complicated. Hello?
Hello, hello.
I don't know if you got what I just said.
Yeah, we understand you. Like for me, I can't go directly to tell the lady that I want to be in a relationship with you. I just something somehow like a like a politician.
Oh, I see. I understand where you are getting at. Okay, seems like Press
Hello.
is having a bit of a problem with the internet connection. Abdurrahman, we can hear you.
Hey, hello. No, I don't. I'm not going to say anything, but as what you are just explaining about the ladies these days, ladies, you just have to twist your tongue, or whatever you say, you just have to do something that will attract her attention to you. It's not that easy for you to get her trust, and sometimes it's very easy for you to be in a relationship with them. That's all.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So let's move on, please. We don't really have time. So all why I was asking us about that is this. When you go on a date for the first time, you're just meeting someone, you're saying that I'm interested in you. Like, can we start a relationship? You need to know the person first. You need to capture their attention with something, just like Abdurrahman said. So the first aspect you need to really check out when you're creating content to attract your customers is your caption, your title. Ensure that it captures their attention. Now, I'm not talking about sales copy. We should know about sales copy. Sales copy, like copywriters, when you want to place an ad, that's one I write that too. But sales copy is different from content marketing. So the first thing, capture their attention with your title, with your caption. Now, the next thing you're to check is the body. Remember, this as the first aspect is the opening skills, which is more like the introduction. Then the next aspect is your selling skills, which is more like the body. So at this point, what you're to do is to build interest. You're to build interest. Now talk about your product in a way that would make them know that you want to give them value. So I'm going to state these two examples. Now these are two persons that sell juice, and see the way they related their content. Now you're going to pick one and tell me which one would make more sales. So let's listen. Now let's say this persons they make juice, and the first person just says, we make extraordinary juice that is natural yet energizing to the body and has a calming effect in the mouth. This is the first person. Now the second person says, all we do here stems from the belief that people can live healthy. And how we ensure that people live healthy is to make our juice natural with a calming effect in the mouth. Now, for these two persons, who do you think will attract customers to buy?
The second one.
Okay, so why?
Actually, because he's making his products from the natural source, not adding uh, the acidic elements that will make it more tasty or something like that. I think.
Okay, all right. So remember the first line. All we do here stems from the belief that people can live healthy. Imagine if you want people to live healthy, it means that this person does not just want to sell. Their product is after ensuring that people live healthy. Now, if you created an app and you begin to tell people that, okay, we have a user friendly app that can help you solve this particular problem, people would feel that you're not really understanding or you're not solving their needs. But when you make them see that you want to give them value first, now you begin to say something like, okay, we believe in changing the narratives in Nigeria. So with that, we've created a user-friendly app that can help you navigate the road, that can help you check which particular aspect of the road has more traffic, and with that, you wouldn't head towards that direction. Now you see that with this person is creating more value and is giving out more value. The truth is people don't want to know how much you know. They want to see that you care first before they know how much you know. So at every point in time, ensure that your empathy is not being left out. So this second aspect I said is build interest. Build interest. Now the third aspect is create a strong desire. Now, when you're creating content, you don't just write it calmly and be like, this product is going to give you the best more than any other product you've gotten before. You must make your content compelling. You must make it. Remember that this aspect now is after the building interest. So at this point now, you create a strong desire by telling them that, okay, we actually have few slots left. This is for a person that is involved with services. Or if you have a product, you can tell them that, okay, we have few products left, and at this point we are having a discount. So if you can get it at this particular time, from let's say this hour to this hour, you're going to have the discount. Now this moves people. It creates a strong desire for them to want to purchase that particular thing. Now, even if they're not purchasing at that time, they can even recommend, let's say this set of persons, they don't have the money to purchase at that time. They can recommend you to another person, knowing that this product is going to, no, it won't be available, let's say from the next hours you stated there. Now, the last thing you're going to check is your follow-up skills. Now, your follow-up skills has to come at the end, because we have to really check that, okay, after you've seen that you've gotten a particular number of persons and they have been attracted to whatsoever you're doing through your content, you have to follow them up. But let's not misquote this. Ensure that when you're following people up, The basic thing you need to get is their database. What's database? It's either you just get their names, either you get their name and their email address. Now you have some persons that don't get to open their emails on time. Now some persons were sent the code for this meeting or the URL, but some persons didn't open it on time. So it means that you can diversify. It's either you want to use email marketing or you can use bulk SMS. Whatsoever means you're using, ensure that you're trying to tell these persons that, okay, if they've bought from you, you still want to see them coming back again. Now, why am I saying this? Content marketing doesn't just stop when a person has bought or when a lead is generated. It's a continuous process. So, what you're doing has to ensure that you're retaining the customers that have bought before while trying to get new ones. So, what are you doing to retain them? Now, that's why you see some persons, they send emails to you and they just send, let's say, once in a month or festive periods. When there are festive periods or holidays, they send emails just to ensure that you're doing well and to say something that would add a level of growth to you. At that point, they are not really selling to you, but these persons, they do this because the psychology of marketing says that somebody has to see a particular brand, business, or content relating to a brand 7 times before the person wants to buy. That's why Dr. Sherak was saying something about consistency yesterday. So ensure that you're being consistent at creating content. Now, how do you become consistent? Because it can be very difficult to create content. Now, this is what I do. I have something called my content bank. Content bank, in the sense that you can create different contents and store them there so that in the events within the year, if you're very busy and you cannot create content, you just go there, pick them up, do some form of fine tuning and post it. Now, if you cannot get to that level yet, another thing you can do is you don't have to, let's say you get to put a particular post today, it doesn't mean you cannot use that post again. Now, the question is, how can you use it again? You can use it again by adjusting some things. Now, if you created a content, a written content, this particular time, talking about what you could do, what your business is about, the next time you can make it an audio content, or you can make it a video content using that same words that you used. So, what we call this is repurposing your content. Repurposing your content. So you don't have to go creating content all over and over again. Apply your creativity. That's why we say variety is the spice of life. Use different means just to aim at what you want to really aim at. I believe we're still following. So another thing when you need to create content is have a content calendar. I think I heard that yesterday from Dr. Shedrack, if I'm not mistaken. Now, a content calendar helps you know when you're to post particularly. After you've known your target audience and you know the particular time these persons can be online. Now, the calendar helps you know that at this particular time you're to post. There are amazing apps that you can use to schedule your posts. When it is scheduled, even if you're busy, it just goes, as long as your data is on, it just goes up there. And of course, it is posted to any of your social media platforms for you. So content bank, I've talked about content bank, I've talked about content calendar, right? So the last thing I would just talk about before we wrap up, I'm looking at the time, so you can ask your questions. So you can ask your questions is the aspects of your target market. Your target market. Now, what's your target market? Let's understand from target market. Let's say for a lady that sells hair, or okay, just like Suleiman creates business cards. Suleiman, can you unmute and tell us the lowest cost of your business card? I want to use it to explain this before we wrap up quickly.
Yeah, I think the lowest amount I used to charge is 10,000 naira per 100 business cards. Even though I'm no longer into printing now, I'm doing design totally, but 5,000 is the lowest amount I charge per design, no matter what type of design.
Okay, so you said 1,000, right?
5,000,
Okay,
5,000.
five. I was wondering. Okay, 5,000. Now, the difference between target audience is this: target audience and target market. He said 5,000. Now, for your target market is those persons who can afford 5,000 naira comfortably without arguing. Okay. Why your target audience, it is good to have them in the sense that some of them are still coming up and it will get to a point where they will become your target market. Okay, let me bring this in another way. Let's say my target audience is people from the age of 18 to, let's say, 18 to 50. I sell hair. I'm using this because it's more general. Now, my target market, how many of these persons are working? Or let's say they are self-employed, and whatsoever they earn per month can comfortably, let's say I sell this particular hair for 30K. Of course, we can relate with human hair. So how many persons can afford this comfortably twice, in the sense that when they remove that 30K, can they still have 30K left? So those persons that can afford it comfortably are your target market. So when you're creating content, your content should go to, first of all, your target audience and your target market. I don't know if you get it. So it means that you're targeting two people, knowing that these people in my audience, it will get to a point whereby they can afford it. So I believe we are cleared with that, and I think I will just round up here so that we can answer the question. So all I've talked about, I started with what is empathy. Suleiman gave us what it means. I talked about types of empathy. I talked about how it stems from emotional intelligence, where I talked about emotional meaning, do I feel connected to the product? And intelligence meaning, do I know about the product? Right? So the next thing I talked about was why empathy, where I talked about the emotional brain. Then the next thing I talked about how to create content that attracts customers, where I laid emphasis on content creation, content marketing, and I said something about empathy in content marketing. Then that took me to content, using your content bank and using your content calendar. Remember that the four aspects I talked about was opening skills, selling skills, closing skills, and follow-up skills. So these four aspects, if you can utilize it in the right way, using empathy. Now remember that all we've talked about, in as much as we're talking about content, if you don't solve people's need, if they just see that all you want to really get out of them is their money, people hardly buy from you. So also when you would definitely get to a point whereby you face some kind of challenges when you create content, people are complaining in your DMs or your stories, whatever it is. I want us to be very careful with the way we respond to people. Really need to show empathy in our response. Now, my friend had a challenge last week. She was in the hospital and she creates content. She does online courses and all that. Now, guess what happened? Somebody came to her DM and said that, do you want me to report you to the police? Now, this person bought that product for just 1K. The person signed up for her newsletter, and the person has not gotten newsletter. So she had been posting on her social media platform that she's in the hospital. So please, everyone should hold on. That was empathy. But the mistake she made was she didn't respond using empathy. When that person came to her DM, she now went to her story and said this. Guess what she said? She said, if you would come to disturb me despite my posting that I am in the hospital just because of $1, or let's say because of 1,000 naira, then please unsubscribe. That was not empathy at all. Because no matter what, the truth is in business, let me just, I don't know why I'm laughing, but in business, people do not owe you. Customers are always right, just like Dr. Shirak said yesterday. So no matter what, in as much as you're explaining to them and you can really meet customers that can give you headache, no matter what, you have to apply intelligence to your emotions. That is the empathy we are talking about. So the best way she would have solved that was that she would have still explained to the person on an individual note. Now, what if the person did not see the story? It is possible. And what if the person saw it, but the person is not someone that is understanding to know that, okay, I'm in the hospital. So you just explain calmly to the person, sorry, we are not available at this moment. But once I get right out of the hospital, we would send your newsletter or we would send what you need, right? So you would meet all of this set of persons via online, offline. If we're talking about content marketing, I like diversifying it, not just in content creation. I like talking about when you meet customers. I like talking about, be it in the workplace, business, wherever you are, ensure that you're allowing people or you are understanding from people's perspective, because every individual thinks in different directions. So you don't use a one size fits approach for every person you meet. So when you're creating content, you also do not use a one size fits approach. So let's remember that. So with this, I think I'll wrap up now. Thank you very much. Let's get our questions in a few minutes so we can close for the day.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing. I think you have covered a lot of
Suleiman,
things.
your voice,
I
I
was
don't know, your
taking note.
voice is not really coming out clearly from my end.
Wow, really? Hello?
Okay.
Hello? Can
Yes,
you
I can
guys
hear
hear me
you.
now?
Maybe it's your
Okay, okay. All right, don't worry, you can go on.
Oh yeah, I was saying. I say you have actually quite covered a lot. I was taking note, and here are some of the things I learned. For you to create a good content, you need to understand the user's needs, uh, build interest, build database, leveraging on multiple platforms to spread information. And then I think one of the things I find more interesting is this psychology of marketing, which is saying someone has to see your content 7 times before making a purchase. That's really interesting because I've never had that before. This is my first time hearing that. Uh,
Okay, okay.
and then you made mention of this example of these guys, people that send skincare products, where you, I think from the way you actually construct the messaging, I find it really interesting because a lot of the times, what really happens is when users doesn't understand why they need your content, I think it's very hard for them to make a purchase. And then again, you do mention of client being always right. I totally agree with you on that because I can totally relate to you on that. Because me as a designer, I know people has a misconception of believing that design is just the visual part, while
Mm,
it's more than that because it's more like a psychology than actually what the naked eye can see. Because almost every single time you have a client that needs a logo design, for example. So what the client usually expect is that if I'm selling hair product, so what they usually expect that I should just put maybe a hair on the logo and then their name, which I think is one of the biggest mistakes that designers make when making a logo. So I have to be empathic and then drop down to their level so that they can understand that the main purpose of logo is not to represent the type of business you are actually running. The main purpose is to identify, to make your business stand out from where I do make example with Apple and Microsoft. All those people are selling laptop, but you never see laptop on their logo, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, I don't have any question. I think maybe
Oh,
somebody has a question from the audience.
okay.
Thank you.
So, audience, does anyone have a question?
um Good afternoon, Mrs. Priest.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for joining late. Actually, look, it's not much of a question, but probably you might have covered something about it. These days there are chunk of email coming in for people. You understand, from different people who are trying to promote their business one way or the other. So I don't know. Do you have a unique catching point that, okay, if anybody is coming across your email, he should be able to, I mean, you should be able to retain that person's attention to the level of reading the content and maybe getting something out of the content. Because what usually happen at the end of the day is that, this thing is coming from so 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 person, trash it. This thing is coming from so person, trash it. So I don't know if there is any, hit point you could advise us with, that when somebody is coming across your content, you should be able to attract the person's attention to the level of digesting the whole content.
Okay. All right. So, one of the things I mentioned, probably you heard it, I'm not so sure, but one of the things I mentioned is that, well, if you're using either email marketing or you're posting on your social media platform,
Yeah.
ensure that you follow these four processes. Okay. And the first thing is the opening skills, where I mentioned your caption. Now, have you seen
Okay.
captions like this? Let's say someone sent a mail to you and the person is like, okay, let me use this. I think I've used this one time like this and I had amazing feedbacks. So, the psychology of your customers that you don't know.
Yeah.
If you see this, won't you want to check what it's about? I don't know who is speaking. Is it
Okay.
Aminu?
No, this is Jibrin.
Okay, 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 okay. Okay, yes, I can see you now. All right. So,
Mm,
when you see that kind of caption, won't you want to check out what it is about?
mm. Curiosity is created.
Exactly. And one
Mm,
amazing thing with curiosity, with I don't know if I should say this, but it's also an aspect of empathy that is amazing. When you
mm,
create when you trigger their emotion
mm.
and you make them curious,
Yeah.
it puts them at a point whereby they're just at a standstill to know what this thing is about. So as they
Sure.
keep reading through, remember that that's the first skill. So you've used your capturing their attention. You've
Mm,
The next thing is you've started building their interest. I said something, I made two examples and I asked everybody, I was like, okay, let's say you created an app. Let's use Dr. Shadrach's app as an example. He has this Vet Connect
yeah.
app where connects veterinary students across the world. And if he's trying to say something about that app, he will not just go right away and say, okay, we have an amazing app that can help you connect veterinary doctors around the world and you can book them at any point. No. So you need to build their interest by giving them value after that caption. So something
Yeah.
we like I said about that juice, we
Yeah.
believe that your animals can live healthy. Ah, ah, who
Helping.
does not
Sure.
want their animals to live healthy? So you get, so just capture
Yeah.
the attention, build interest, create a strong
Mm,
desire. After
mm.
you're done with that, you can now place a call to action. Please don't miss out call to action. That's one thing people miss out. Remember, we're talking about content marketing. So even if
Yeah.
you're not your call to action is not, it's not that they should buy. You can get their database, create a Google form, get anything, just ensure that there's a call to action. I don't know if you get that. Is it clear?
Sure, I do. Yeah, very much.
Okay. So does that answer
Mm.
your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Do we have any other question? Okay. So I'll just wrap up this way. Please keep marketing your contents until people are ready to buy. Don't be tired. I know how it can really be. I've had I've had amazing experiences. Okay, I'm a content creator, so Aside the fact that I train people on emotional intelligence, and like I said, empathy is an aspect of emotional intelligence. So during this lockdown, I had series of sections whereby you would you would really see you would see a lot of customers and the way they want to really, tear you down, tear you apart. Let me use that word. So I'll just wrap up. I just want to give us three strategies. This is more like a bonus section for especially Jibri since you joined late. Okay, so understand the complaints of your customer. That is empathy. Understand the complaints of your customer. So when you're on social media, they lay in complaints, and probably you've had chats with them before. Be patient enough to go through the formal chat so that you don't begin to ask questions, because with that they begin to feel that you're not interested in them and you're not fulfilling the human needs. People want to feel significant, people want to feel respected, people want to feel that yes, they are really seen for who they are. So you have to understand complaints. You explain situation. Okay, you can say, we are sorry that, just like the example I gave, I'm sorry to hear this. I'm sorry to hear that the product you expected is not what you got. I don't know if you get it. Now you can see some other persons that they're insisting to speak to your boss. There are some situations like that. You can tell them that I understand the fact that you want to speak to the boss, but please, my job is to ensure that you get things right. My job is to ensure that you don't overstep your boundaries. My job is to just explain situations to them. Then the next thing, make them understand that you're taking action. Make them understand that you're not just stopping at explaining the situation, you're taking next action to ensure that they get a better product next time. So I call this my UST: understand complaints, explain situations, take action. So with that, I would love to say thank you very much to everyone. Thank you, Mr. Suleiman. I've not been to Gombe.
Maybe I do hope one day you'll be in Gombe. It's nice. Probably Dr. Shadrach already tell you that. Hello? Okay, friends, thank you so much for doing that. I think you are experiencing a bit of a difficulty because I can't hear you right now. And Jibrin doesn't properly introduce himself. He's actually my co-chapter director. We are managing the chapter together, and we are truly grateful that you agreed to do this side with us. Jibrin, can you say a few words?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes. I'm
I'm
very,
sorry. Okay,
I'm truly sorry.
I'm
Yes,
so
I'm
sad.
Jibrin Ibrahim. Sorry.
No, don't worry. I said I didn't know you were the coach after director. I would have addressed you as our boss.
No, 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 not at all. Actually, I'm just a messenger. I'm just a boy.
All right.
I'm actually the co-director, and I'm very sorry once again for joining lead.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Yes, and we really appreciate your contribution towards this chapter and towards our development. And we hope that some other time, if anything comes up, when we seek for your time, you would grace us with that. Thank you so much.
All right. Welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aminu. Thank you, Is my I don't sorry, Abdullahi. I think I prefer that one. Thank you.
Ismail.
Okay. Thank you, Safiya. No. Thank you, Suleiman. I think I've called everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate.
You haven't called me.
Okay, thank you for joining us.
Okay, Jibril.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate.
All right, all right. And I'm open in case you have questions. I think Suleiman will give you a means to reach me. In case you have any questions, but you as regards
Yeah, I will
empathy.
surely do that.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.